Well, hi everyone. Thanks for joining me this evening in Portland, Oregon. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon, evening. Finally getting some nice weather here. So love to have you here in my studio. I just got back from my Italy workshop, so got a little sun and it was a wonderful trip. So I'm excited to be home and to be back painting with everyone. So tonight we're going to be painting this kind of fall scene, which is, I know it was kind of impulsive of me to choose this fall scene. It's rather a simple composition, and in some ways you could think of it as sort of static. So there's these rows of trees. But the thing that I love about it is there's a little bit of mystery in it with the red tree on the left-hand side, and also there's this little hint of something in the distance, that light that we're searching for, the little mystery that I think that really makes this piece just very intriguing to me. So we're gonna search out that little mystery in this piece. In this particular piece, I've painted several times. I painted it large. I painted it really small. I like doing that with work. I like working at a variety of scales. It really teaches me lots of things about my mark making, about being gestural, about being bold, and also about being quiet and nuanced. So working at a variety of scales to me is really important in my work. So today we're going to do it kind of on the small side. Now, I know that a lot of folks want to be able to have exactly the same materials as I do. Don't worry about it. If your paper isn't the same color, if you don't have exactly the same paper, no worries. Just work with what you have, do what you can, follow along as much as you can. I'm a pretty speedy painter. During these live streams and the follow-alongs, I try to slow down just a bit so that you can keep up, but also recognize that speeding up is probably a good thing. It teaches you some things. Also, I suggest that you pay a little bit of attention to the way I'm putting down the marks. I tend to move my hand in a lot of different directions. I make large strokes with the whole side of my pastel. I'll also go in with a new pastel and make more of a thin, delicate line, sometimes kind of a gestural, scratchy line. So all of that is in play and in the mix, and lends texture and variety to the piece. So pay attention a little bit to that. And so we're just going to get into this. I did want to point out that I've got lots of reference material. I've got my iPad. So I did this piece really small, and I did a thumbnail sketch. So I've got this that I'm looking at. I also have some reference material. I have the original reference photos that I took. I have to tell you a little story before we get started about this photo. So this was a place that I used to drive by almost every day, and in the fall it's amazing. It was amazing. So I loved driving by here. It was close by home, and eventually it was cordoned off and had a no trespassing sign on it. So I snuck in there one day and got some fall photos, and then shortly after that, of course, it got developed. So it no longer exists. So I'm really happy that I had the chance to paint it before that happened. So, okay, so I have lots of reference materials. I always think about wanting to have sketches, reference photos, underpaintings, anything that I can use as a tool is fair game. So I never think that I'm cheating. I'm going to use everything that I have at my disposal to create my pieces. So I recommend that you do the same. There's no cheating in art. The only cheating is if if you copy someone's stuff and sell it, right? Other than that, it's all good. All right, so we're gonna get started on this. Bring the camera in. Yeah, let's get it readjusted. Let's see. Get it really close. I think that's good. Let's see. Sorry, I want to get you a really good view of what I'm doing here so you can really see what I'm doing. Okay. I think that's going to do it. All right. We're ready. All right. So I don't really need a thumbnail sketch because I've already created a lot of material for myself. I'm going to come in here and let's see, I want to make sure that you can see. Chris, can you make sure that they can see the whole image in the I think so.
Yeah.
I think they can see the whole image in there. Yeah?
Yes. No,
Okay, great. Perfect. Now, the thing that I need to do is I need to put my hair in a ponytail so that my hair doesn't get in the way, and try to keep my shoulder out of the scene. Okay, compositionally, this one is pretty darn simple. Just going to give this foreground a little bit of a sweep here. I want it to have a little bit of a gesture, not be just totally straight across. And the first thing that I'm going to do is get the gesture of this red tree in here, because that is probably what I would consider the focal point. I kind of have a secondary focal point in this piece, which is kind of fun. So I'm just going to get this in here. Like so. And then I have, just going to kind of block in the areas where I have my other foliage masses. So I've got all this bright yellow foliage. So I don't want to come in here too dark. I've got some other tree trunks. I'm going to use a little bit of a broken line. See that? I'm going to come in, kind of stop and start. Same thing in here. That's nice. So now I've got this other tree, pretty strong. I'm going to come and I'm going to really feel what that gesture is of this guy. I don't want it right smack dab in the center. It's a little off center. I'm going to have a secondary focal point right in here. Now I'm going to show you. So right here, if I were to think about the rule of thirds in my painting, right here is going to be a secondary focal point. So that's going to work out pretty nicely. So even though this is kind of simple compositionally, it's got some good things happening. Also, so I have this kind of strong gesture of this tree going, sort of leaning a little bit out of my composition. So I'm going to bring this other tree, it's going to come back in. And so is this one. So it's going to give me some balance here. Now, this other one over here on the side, it's coming, it's leaning out. Now I just did a little video on composition, and one of the things that I said in it was, don't have things leaning out, have them lean in. So I'm kind of breaking the rule here. a little bit. But I always think about things in terms of rules as rules of thumb. And I like to play with them and break the rules a little bit. I'm going to sell it to you. Okay, see, I put a little bit of value in here in the bottom, a little bit of dark, just because to remind myself that I'm going to want a little bit of gradation from here to the top. Okay, so now that I've got that, I've got some idea of the gesture of my various tree trunks in here, the intervals in between them. Am I happy with them? Are they too even across? I think I've got an interesting division of space. I think it's okay. So from here, I'm going to grab what to me is the biggest, easiest shape. And I think it's this yellow. So I'm going to pick something that I'm going to approximate the middle value of that yellow foliage. I don't want to go too dark, and I don't want to go too light. I like to start in the middle because it gives me the opportunity when I'm at the end of my painting process to really hit those accents with the darks and the highlights with the lights. If I start too dark or start too light, I kind of can get caught. So I want to start rather in the middle. So I'm going to pick something that's going to approximate that middle value. And I know just from experience, and because I love, love, love this color so much, this is Unison Yellow 13. I'm going to come in here and just drag this really light. You see that? I'm using a pretty light touch. I want to sneak up on this. I don't know whether this is exactly right. I think it's pretty good, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just gonna kind of drag this in here. I think that looks good. See, I'm kind of letting it skitter across the paper. I'm letting a lot of the green of the paper pop through. That's going to help me harmonize the whole thing. The toned paper does a lot of work for me. Okay, I feel like that looks good. So now I'm going to move on to this foreground shape. And I'm going to pick something that feels like the middle value, not too light, not too dark. And it's kind of this tan, but it also has a fairly strong green undertone, a little bit lighter than the paper. So I'm going to come along and watch my strokes here. See, I'm using the whole side of my stick. This is a Unison pastel. I'm dragging the whole side of it. And watch this too. See how I'm letting it drift into the other shape. I'm not worried about staying in the lines of my drawing at all. I'm letting this just really drift into the other shape. Okay, that's good. So now I'm already starting to have a fairly good setup here. So now I really want to get that red tree kind of established because that's very important to me. I like it. So I'm going to pick something that's, again, not too dark. Oh, that feels pretty strong. Let's see. Something, no, that's the same stick. Oh, that's brighter and a little bit lighter, so I think I'll go with that. Okay, same thing. I'm going to drag this in here. I want to get the character. It's this kind of, it's got these kind of interesting branches. So I want to get the gesture of it, the character of it. Without, I don't want to do every little branch. That's not what I want here. Okay, now I see some other opportunities to use this red. There's some branches over on this side that are also a little bit more kind of in shadow. And I'm going to go ahead and put those in. The reason being is this being in shadow, I'm going to want to have this focal point be in light. So this area in shadow is going to be a nice foil for that area in light. So that's going to work out. Okay, so that feels pretty good. All right, what's next? All right, I think that I need to make some sort of decision about the sky. Ugh, I don't really want to do it. It's scary to me. But one thing I do know, typically in the landscape, the sky is the lightest value. So I probably can't go too wrong by heading to something pretty light. Now, also notice here that I'm building my relationships. See this? I'm building my relationships. So I can see right here, what is the relationship between this yellow that I've already got down and this really light yellow that's going to be the sky. That feels pretty good. That difference is good. How does it feel against the red? Pretty good. So when we put down a stick, whenever we put down any kind of mark, on its own it doesn't make anything. It doesn't mean a thing. We have to put it in relationship for it to have any meaning whatsoever. So when we're painting, people always ask me, oh, how do you know what to put down? Well, I really don't. I just try something and see if it works. And then if that doesn't work, I try something else. But you have to start somewhere, so you do. Okay, so now I've got an opportunity here to design a little bit of this foliage mass of the trees here, which is really interesting and kind of fun because you think I'm painting the sky when in actuality I'm more really painting the trees, right? Painting the negative shapes of these trees. That's really fun. And now see, I'm using like a soft gestural stroke to do that. Okay. And I haven't pressed super hard yet. I can. Right here I could press really hard. But I don't have to make too much of a commitment yet. That's fine. I can already start to feel a little bit about the relationships and what's going on here. Okay, so now I'm making some marks that are kind of dots and dashes and strokes. Some kind of linear marks, some vertical marks in my foliage mass here. So I want there to be an interesting mark-making vocabulary. That's pretty fun. Obviously, I cannot and don't want to paint every little branch, every little leaf. I'm not after that. I'm really trying to paint what is the essence of this scene out here. What's it feel like to me? That's really what I'm going for. I'm not wanting to just slavishly copy my photograph. I want something different than that. Okay. I'm going to just take a little break here, just give you guys a chance to catch up a little. If you're following along. Okay, take a look. I think it's coming along pretty well. One thing I think is these feel a little bit repetitive. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I want to make this a little thinner here so that this gets to be a little bit bigger of a shape. That's good. I'm always looking for interesting division of space and intervals. Okay, so now I kind of got it pretty nice and blocked in. I want to start adding on. So basically I'm fairly in the middle in all of the value masses. Even up here in the light, I could go a little bit lighter, and I could go a little bit darker in the sky, so I could have a little gradation in the sky. Here in this mass, I can go a little bit darker and lighter. Same in all of the masses. So now I'm going to be adding on. I'm going to be adding to the range of value in each of the masses, and also I'm going to be adding on to the range of hues and the range of intensities in each of the value masses that I've got going. Okay, so I think the first thing that seems like it would be fun to do is to add on to that yellow. And it occurs to me that it'd be really neat to get some really bright yellow in there. And so my light source is obviously coming from this direction. So I'm going to think about the form of these foliage masses a little bit as though the light's coming and spilling in to them from this direction. I can silhouette this red tree a little bit when I'm doing that, which is pretty darn fun. Yeah, see how that works? That's pretty neato. And I'm going to come along this side. And now watch, okay, so I've got this is a pretty little piece of pastel, okay? But yet I can still make a nice big stroke with it, which is really great. I can, yeah. Yeah, can we move it out just a little bit? Yeah, see, I can do it over here. I can still make a pretty nice big stroke with it. So that's really awesome. And you see I'm making some little smaller marks as well. So I'm making some dots and dashes in here too. So I have a nice variety of scale of marks. Okay, now I've got this idea here of a kind of secondary focal point, And what I want is this light that's coming into this one little area down here. I have this idea. I really want that. So that light's just kind of coming right through there. That's neat. Okay, you can see I'm not worried at all about staying in the line. See, I'm coming over the top of the sky with the yellow. If I need to reestablish any kind of shape or line, I've got my thumbnail. I've got my reference material. I do not need to worry about it. It's actually pretty fun to do in the summertime. We're doing a fall scene. It's pretty funny. Okay, just a couple more little ideas here. All right, so that's already getting a nice flavor to it. I like it. Okay, at this point I'm going to come in and fill in a little bit of the paper.
Marla, Claudia asks, what type of paper are you using?
I'm using, this is Color Fix, and it's the olive green Color Fix. Color Fix is fun to use for something like this because it's doing a lot of the work for me to establish color harmony. Okay. Okay, I think I want to do a little bit more on this foreground. Let's see. I'm going to bring this kind of, this is sort of this mousy tan color, I guess. And I'm going to just mix that in with my green here. It's really muted. It's a real muted color. And I think that's nice play to have something really muted up against what's going on here in the trees because they are really chromatic, very intense. So it's kind of nice to have something that's not as intense. And I'm going to start making a suggestion of these grasses that are coming up. You can make some dots and dashes. I want to make an idea of grasses that are coming up in front of these, but I don't want to draw individual grasses. So I think that works pretty well right there. All right, so now what I think I want to do is, now I've gotten some lights with the yellow. Now I think I want some darker darks. So I'm going to grab this lovely Terry Ludwig pastel. It's kind of this lovely eggplant color. And I'm going to come down here in this foreground and also even up here in the branches, just a little. Using a little bit of a broken line. See, I'm using the side of the stick like this, so this is a great one for this because it's a square stick, so I can come along this edge like this and just go like so. So I don't want to draw the trees like this. I want a little bit of a broken line. So this terries are great for that kind of thing, and can really, really easily get that kind of broken line. How are we doing on time?
It's 4:32.
Okay. Good. Okay. Kind of liking it. Now I want a little bit of the underside of the foliage of this tree, the red tree. So I'm just saying something about the form, the volume of the tree. So it's got a light side and a dark side. I'm using a loose mark making technique. And I think I want to come back over this area with the green a little bit. Okay. All right, I'm gonna take a pause just a little bit for you guys to catch up if you need to, want to. One thing I see in my thumbnail that I really like is that the sky comes down a little bit further. I think that that's kind of effective, maybe even more so than in the reference material suggests. Now, so this is one of those kind of edits, like a little bit of artistic license that I think sometimes we're hesitant to do. I want to make I'm not concerned about being totally faithful to nature, though I want to take some ideas from nature for sure, but we're making a painting here. So taking some artistic license is always warranted. No, we can't improve on nature, but we definitely can improve our paintings. Okay. All right, so now I'm thinking that it'd be cool if this area right here had an even lighter aspect to it. So I'm going to come in and see, now I'm going to get this really light lemon yellow. It's a little bit lighter and a little bit different than what I've already got in there. I'm pressing really hard, you guys. I have to press really hard because I've already got a lot of product on there. I'm going to get some little marks in here. So to really, bring home this idea that I had. So whenever I'm painting, the main thing that I really think that sometimes we do is we forget why we're painting a thing. What was the thing that originally attracted us to the scene in the first place? We can lose sight of that, and I always want to try to stay as faithful as I can to that. There are times when we're painting the the scene, the painting sort of tells us otherwise. It gives us some other clue. But that's, that's a different thing. And when that happens, that's really cool. But I also want to be aware of that as well. I don't want to just be kind of floundering around. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. I want to lighten this foreground a little bit, even more. I'm going to come in with this. See this in comparison to this kind of tan that I've got. This is a little bit, it's got a little bit of purple to it actually. And I'm going to come in and just make some marks. I'm going to suggest some grass. Now I'm going to get that green again and kind of marry that together, blend it together just a tad. And that's nice. Okay, so what else do I need to do? I'm just thinking about designing the sky a little bit. These shapes, I always want to be scanning the whole thing and paying attention to the whole thing. I don't want there to be an area that I kind of forgot. Okay. Oh, I want a little bit lighter and brighter color on the side of the tree. So I'm going to pick this little bit lighter red. Just hit the sides of that tree. I don't want to overdo it because it really is in shadow for the most part. So I don't want it to pop out too much. That's pretty good. I could come over here a little bit too. Maybe I'll bring in some more of this. It's darker red. That's nice. All right, so now I'm going to come back in with some marks, some more dots and dashes with this bright yellow. I want to make some suggestions of light popping through a couple areas. So I'm going to open up this tree just a little bit here and there with a couple little dots. That's pretty nice. Now, what I think is interesting about this, if you think about it, this is fairly limited palette that we've used so far in this piece, but yet we really kind of established a nice quality of light with a very, pretty limited palette. It's pretty interesting.
Marla, Kath is asking, this originally was Elephant Color Fix in the materials list. So she was wondering, what drives the paper color decision in a case like this?
That's a great question, Kath. Sometimes it's the scene is driving it for me. Sometimes it's also what I have in my drawer And that's what happened tonight. That's what I ended up with after my trip to Italy. And so oftentimes I'm going to make it work. And I know that you guys, want to have exactly what I'm using. And I know maybe it feels kind of frustrating. But I do encourage you to, for me, I love to paint. I want to paint. And if I don't have exactly what I think I ought to have, I still am going to get in there and paint. So, I guess I am, suggesting that to you too. So, yeah, I apologize if I'm not using exactly what I called out on originally. But, yeah, so a lot of times it's like in this case, the olive green. Yeah, this olive green is definitely going to work for this, but so would the elephant. So would the elephant, because I could still get these negative shapes and pretty much do the same kind of thing. So I hope that answers the question. So now I'm just going down here in this foreground and having some fun with some active mark making. I also want to bring a little hint of some green back in here. Just something back in here to just kind of suggest a middle ground back in here, just here and there, just like so. And then the other thing that I think would be fun is some aqua. You guys know I'm a big fan of aqua.
Marla, just so you know, this isn't really a question, but Sandra says that she's in England and it's like 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
You really should go to bed, but you're just amazing to watch and very inspiring. I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. That's really, really sweet. Yes, you should go to bed. It's hard though, isn't it? I just got back from my trip and I've been sleep is a commodity here. I haven't been able to do it very, very well since I got back. So now this is some scratchy marks with this aqua, and I'm just kind of coming in here. This is this sort of middle ground here, and I'm just kind of making some marks that are giving me a little texture, giving me a little idea of that middle ground, but mostly they're just kind of fun, to be honest. So now I'm just kind of playing with the making some marks. Now, one thing I want to do up here in the sky, I do want to make a suggestion that the sky is blue. Okay, so it's mostly this really light green, but I tell you, if you come in with just a hint up here, just suddenly the sky's blue. It's amazing. You don't need much.
Marla, Claudia says, if I'm using UArt because that's what I have on hand, should I start with a green underpainting?
No, no, Just dive in with the just block in the major colors, the masses. Yeah, you could, UArt's fun to do an underpainting with. I like UArt. We had a support question the other day about Wallace. Someone must have seen an old video I had done about Wallace paper that there's a YouTube video where I'm toning Wallace paper. And Wallace paper is not available any longer. So, yeah, so if I make mention in a video of Wallace paper, it's not it's not true any longer. It's from an old stuff. It's sad. Too bad. It's really too bad. Okay, so I'm just playing around with making some little marks for the branches and, you know, just having fun here. I don't want to get too involved in it. Not detail. I'm not talking about detail. I'm talking about just kind of picking out and designing some shapes, making them a little bit more elegant. All right.
Is the new Pastel Premier a good substitute for Wallace?
Yes, I like that paper a lot. My latest favorite paper is Pastel Matte. I'm loving that paper. It's super fun. It grabs onto the marks in a very particular manner that I find very satisfying. I like it a lot. A lot of my little miniature paintings that I have on YouTube are done on Pastel Matte. Okay, so this is a crimson new pastel, and I'm just coming along having fun, and I'm making some marks here in the foreground. Now, the one thing about that is that it's also echoing the red back here in the tree. So it's working out pretty nice to do that, to just kind of echo colors. Whenever I can make a case to do that, I'm going to try to do that. So I'm going to make some other kind of little marks back here. I think I'm just about there. What time do we have?
4:49.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Are we pretty good? Okay. So you Pastellists may not know that we also launched oilpaintinglessons.com about a month or so ago. So check that out when you have a chance. There are sequential lessons. You know, they start pretty beginner and move sequentially up. So it's a little bit different format than the Pastel Lessons site, but I think that they're pretty interesting. So we'll be adding more lessons to that site as we can. I think I want to get that a little bit lighter even. Let's see what this would do. I'm pressing really hard because I have now a lot of product on there. So I don't know if you noticed that in terms of blending, I'm doing very little blending. I'm very, very, very selective about blending. I want to use it as a tool, but I don't want to use it as a crutch. So blending is something that I think that we can get pretty carried away with, and a lot of times I feel like we blend when we don't know what else to do, and so I don't want to be in that position. Okay, I'm going to stop right here, and if anybody has any questions.
Nope, we've been covering as they go.
Okay. All right. So I hope everybody had a good time. Just give you one more look at the piece. Pretty limited palette, which I think is really, really good. And I think that pretty simple composition, though, you know, we got a lot going on in here. But anyway, I hope you had fun, and we will talk to you guys soon. All right.